What do you do if you are also a supreme leader, but of a different country, of the United States, and you are a supreme leader because of your billions of dollars, and you are in the midst of buying or attempting to buy an election? You're buying an option. You're buying an option to a lot of things. Maybe you're buying an option for a third party run. Maybe you're buying an option to vie for that spot if Joe Biden trips and has a heart attack, or people realize that he is ill suited to be president. Maybe you think you can jump in there. And what you do, apparently, if you're Mike Bloomberg, is you spend hundreds of millions of dollars buying ads time. You pay your canvassers entry-level positions. You pay them like you would a first-year law associate at a New York law firm, so that, you're in Wisconsin, you're making $70,000 a year for canvassing or something. I mean, you got to overpay a little bit because you don't. And the other thing you do is you don't read into any of the major issues, apparently, that are facing America, like what's going on in Iran, because then you'd have to find out like the names of the people that we just assassinated. Here's Mike Bloomberg, and I don't know if anybody's caught this. He doesn't seem to know who the Iranian general was. Listen to the question and then listen to his response.
This morning, Senator Sanders classified the killing of Soleimani as an assassination. Is that a terminology that you would agree with?
I don't know in the context that he said it, who he was talking about, but I think it's probably inappropriate. If he was talking about killing the general, was that what he was talking about? This is a guy who has an awful lot of American.
The general is Soleimani. I mean, it's clear that Bloomberg knew there were multiple people killed in that attack, and that one of them was also a potential, like a specific target. That would be Muhandis, the Iraqi militia leader. But he just didn't read in or spend enough time to know the difference between the two of them. So he just knows one is the general. And he just knows it was probably inappropriate, even though he doesn't even know the details as to who the guy is. So play it back. I want people to listen to this. This is really stunning.
This morning, Senator Sanders classified the killing of Soleimani as an assassination. Is that a terminology that you would agree with?
I don't know in the context that he said it, who he was talking about, but I think it's probably inappropriate. If he was talking about killing the general, was that what he was talking about? This is a guy who had an awful lot of American blood on his hands. I think that's an outrageous thing to say. Nobody that I know of would think that we did something wrong in getting the general. The question is, what did we do afterwards? But not that this guy was an enemy of America who's killed Americans, and we have a right and an obligation, I think, to go after him, and we did.
What is the proper way to speak about his death?
What is the proper verbiage?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, get a dictionary and take your pick. The guy killed a bunch of Americans and we're going to worry about the language? I don't think so.
Well, he literally was just worried about the language.
He's the one who's worried about the language. I'll pick the word out of the dictionary, assassination.
Right,
that?
Exactly.
You'd think that he would know more details about the various leaders of Muslim countries he hates.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that's really stunning.
For them.
Like, wait,
get your Islamophobia right.
Mike, let's take 20 minutes and sit down just so that we can give you a briefing on all this stuff. And if he had any type of foundation, you could pick up on exactly what the dynamic was here. But he had no idea. No idea. And the idea, and if Mike Bloomberg, and he should be questioned on this more deeply. I mean, I understand people aren't quite taking him seriously yet as a candidate. But I want to know what the Bloomberg doctrine is. Because if we're going to assassinate any leader or governmental executive who has American blood on their hands, like, can we take out the executives of Boeing? Can we do that? Like, what's the deal? Honestly, I want to know what the parameters are. I mean, I'm being a little bit sarcastic here, but not too much.
The parameters are different for the U.S. than for other countries, remember?
Well, I mean, there are, we have plenty of situations where, can we do this with the Saudis?
We can do whatever we want, and any retaliation is illegitimate.
He said, I just want
But he's not even saying that. Like, he has a more specific charge there. And like, this isn't, he wants to be president of the United States. He should have a somewhat roughly formed doctrine. If the doctrine is just like, we can do it at any time, and it makes sense to do it at any time. That we don't even have to contemplate consequences. I mean, this is,
I think to be clear,
Archduke Ferdinand had it coming. Is the theory?
It's
here.
war on terrorism logic, which never was overturned, right? I mean, this is an escalation of it, but the idea. I mean, look, President Obama assassinated an American citizen, and his kid died. George W. Bush certainly held the right to, not only assassinate people, but actually bag them and take them and fly them to middle countries to be tortured, or own places. But I just want to read really briefly, because people should remember this about Bloomberg too. In the May 2014, this is Jim Dwyer in the New York Times, 2007. May 2014, after the invasion, Mr. Bloomberg served as a host for Laura Bush, who'd come to New York in an effort to rally support for the war effort, that is Iraq. Mrs. Bush visited memorials for September 11 victims. Standing next to Mrs. Bush with the Statue of Liberty in the background, Mr. Bloomberg suggested that New Yorkers could find justification for the war at the World Trade Center site, even though no Iraqis had a hand in September 11th attacks. Don't forget that the war was started not very many blocks from here, he said that day in 2004. So that's his record.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Well,
Mike Bloomberg, folks.